Hi, folks. I just wanted to do this little session before the actual video starts to basically explain why it's A, taken so long, and B, not actually had any changes done to the base recording as a result. To put into context where I was at, originally what I planned to do was to release the two parts fully edited with all like the clips and everything that I usually do for these discussion videos. But life kind of started getting in the way, as it often does. I yeah, I was struggling to sort of find the time between working full time, streaming, and all my sort of other post after hours, after work commitments and so on to really sit down and get that editing work done. And it's not a quick process for me. I'm very slow at it because it's not what I do. I'm not a video editor. I'm not a content creator, really. I'm a streamer, and in my day job, I'm a game developer. Like, I don't really typically use that kind of skill set in the day to day. So yeah, the original plan was to release the edited video as you would see, but it just wasn't happening, and the anxiety of not releasing it was building up and building up. So I figured I'd just record this little section and then just release the second half of the video. So it's there, it's out there, it's a completed thing, and we can move on from there. As you know, I don't really release much to this channel anyway, but at least now I can finish what I'd originally planned to release. I hope you'll understand, and thank you for understanding. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the part 2 of the discussion. Yes.
And we're back.
So, welcome back, everyone. However long it's fucking been since since I finished editing this video. Welcome back to the final discussion, part 2. Got ya. Hopefully it's not been 8 months. I really hope it's not been 8 months.
Yeah, did the final chapter come out from Isayama? Who knows? Maybe.
Oh fuck. Maybe we should just postpone it until then. I don't know.
Yep.
Anyway, as we were discussing, Aaron's head blows up. I don't really have much to say about that. It's fine. I think the emotion of Jean, like his voice cracks when he screams. It's cute. The actors again, voice acting in this episode is like absolute peak Attack on Titan.
Well, there's one big interesting change they made, which is like after that's when Armin explodes, I guess. Which is that we see Historia and we get a shot of the farmer. So they like moved up the Historia giving birth scene to this particular moment where Eren gets his head chopped or cut off, I guess, which was an interesting change. It makes it feel more like it's a reincarnation or something.
Yeah, like it was in the because that was in the previous volume, wasn't it? That happened at the.
Yeah, it was like 134 or 5 or something. Like, it was at the end of the last one.
I feel like it was 134. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was the very beginning. It was the first page of 134.
Right. Yeah. I think it was a good placement here.
I think it worked. It was so quick though.
And we see the farmer. In his little waiting room outside the pregnancy place.
I mean, in the manga, we see him in the same room in the background. But yeah, it's cute. It's good. I remember there being a big theory that I had bought into that, assuming they didn't stop the rumbling, Historia's child would be reincarnated as the Beast Titan. Would have the Beast Titan, because that's like how the Titan rules work, where if you die without transferring your power, it goes into a new Eldian baby. So Historia, there would have been this horrible thing if Historia's family, or if they hadn't won, then it would have been Eren's sort of attempt to protect Historia would have still been fruitless, because her family would have inherited the Beast Titan anyway. Just an interesting little thing, but yeah, it's And then we get another shift in the lighting as the Shining Centipede comes out, turns the entire scene blue, and we get Reiner absolutely fucking diving into it like a complete king.
That's so great.
Grab the squidgy toy. It's like one of those, not dog toys, but like plastic things with like liquid inside of them, and then you can like make them into.
Yeah, true. God, I think they did the Shining Centipede very well, because I remember when I first saw it last season, I was very worried because it looked like transparent and it wasn't glowing or anything. And it was fine, but I'm glad they made it glow blue. It looks good. It's big. The sound it makes is really cool, like the weird like squeaking like gaseous noise. Yeah,
it sounds unnerving, which is good.
Yes, yeah, I loved it. They did a good job.
Yeah, it was great. The whole thing is great. It's the way it affects the lighting and everything. And again, as I saw the anime community pointing out, Reiner absolute MVP. Just like that, his voice actor giving it 110% with like the screaming as he's trying to hold it off. And the fact that Jean's first thing is concern for Reiner, the whole Reiner Jean bromance, despite considering they go on to sort of give each other a bit of a ribbing later on in the episode, it really shows how much they care about each other. And especially when Jean, if you think back to season 3, Jean was the one who was like, "Why are you crying?" when Connie and Sasha thought they'd killed Reiner. He was the one who was clearly trying to hide it. It shows that Jean really does deeply care for Reiner. And the fact that they're working together obviously is a really big deal for him. Because their animosity to each other, well, not animosity, but their action, because obviously, Jean beat him up as well in the camp, and like...
Jean being, like, one of the most emotional, but trying to hide it is a very likable quality. Particularly from the start, you're like, this guy is just, he's a bit of a prick. And then,
and then we get a shot that I didn't think I liked that much in the anime, and I don't really know why. And it was the shot of Armin the shot of Armin saying "Thank you, everyone." There's a complete mismatch where you get the wide shot and Armin's absolutely tiny, and then they zoom in and he's much bigger, like proportionally.
Oh yes, when he's like being held up, right?
Yeah, when he's being held up by Cassava, like. Just I'll grab a couple. I'll grab a couple of screen grabs.
I remember that in the trailer.
Yeah, it was in the trailer as well, was where people first started noticing it. So, I guess I understand it a little bit. It would have been too difficult to see him, but otherwise, it was still. I thought it was still a bit cringe.
Yeah, curse you, Mappa. We don't like you anymore.
And I don't know. I don't know if the shot worked as well in the anime as it did in the manga, but.
Yeah, I agree. Pretty much.
I just realized that you had posted a little thing there as well, Ari, that I completely missed because I don't have sound alerts turned on.
Oh, good.
Oh, I didn't even see that either.
Oh my god, guys! Oh, it's all right. I made it back. It's all good.
But I do really like the close up of Armin's eye as he says "Sayonara, Eren," and then you get the lightning spark and the explosion. That's fucking rad. The explosion looks awesome as well. Like.
It felt very big, which is good to see, I guess. Much bigger than what I thought in the manga.
Yeah, and just as you're seeing Falco sort of flying and being blown away, and then obviously you've got the Historia. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. And then well, anything else? Anything else on that particular bit for you guys?
No.
Sorry,
no.
Sorry, I'm not as good as running these things as Kyle is. So I'm kind of just like,
no, this is fine.
Next scene. What did you guys think? Next scene.
No, you're way better than Kyle.
Oh, that's good. Good to know. I'll lead up the chapter, the volume 35 discussion when it comes out. Mika says headaches. I actually recently rewatched that video of yours, Ari, and I sent it to my friends, my anime only friends, and they were just like, "Yeah, that video is awesome." So.
Oh, I'm so glad.
And just Mika.
I was a bit worried watching this episode.
Yeah. So these YouTube videos are actually kind of good. I was sending Kyle's like explanation. Like I had mates like, why was everybody so mad about it? And I was like, well, I'll just here's a random YouTube video. I found this explains it pretty well. Yeah.
Well, the headache one I think is especially true because as far as I could tell, watching a bunch of anime reactions, they still believe right up until the end and don't change their mind on this that Mikasa's headaches are because they still believe the Ackerman shit that Eren was feeding them, and it's
that is interesting.
I can kind of understand where they're coming from with that. Why they would understand that. The anime doesn't outright. The anime only has Zeke saying he doesn't think it's a thing, but if you forget about that one scene, then it's easy enough to get stuck in that. And the fact that Mikasa's flashback, which is meant to be about literally the last thing, her last interaction with Eren being Eren saying he hated her. That's what you're meant to take from that scene. But everyone's kind of being reminded of, it's because her Ackerman blood's kicking in. And my anime only friends, I think, were in a similar vein for that as well. So. Like, I don't think it's necessarily a problem with the audience because my friends are pretty clued up. Like, they're both quite good at media analysis. So I think it is maybe just a slight weakness in the source material, not in this episode in particular, but just in how that was kind of handled as a whole from when it was from when Eren said it to up until now.
Yeah, I generally agree. Yeah.
Then we get a little inconsistency again that I'm going to bring up. Like, obviously, they all get to reunite with their families. It's cute. It's great. In the manga, Falco's parents run onto Falco. They climb up onto the Titan to meet him. He doesn't, remove his Titan. He stays in it, similar to how Galliard can sort of, would remove himself partially. And I think that's kind of important because when they have to escape, they have to do it really quickly. And obviously, if Falco's still transformed, he still has the net around him and everything. In the anime, later on, we see the flash and then almost immediately the birds flying. But the net's still on him and everything. How the fuck did they get that? It's such a minor nitpicky thing, and I don't understand why the change was necessary.
Yeah, and considering that they've gone to the extra length of like showing Pierre earlier or giving off blood or the extra, like all the extra little bits you found out about, like the extra thunder spears and all that, like it seems like it's an interesting change at least.
Yeah, it's genuinely a scene that it's a bit that I didn't understand, but whatever. Something I'm looking at now, again, color palette shift. It's sort of all this dusty yellow, this sort of grim. You can see bits of light coming through the dark clouds, but it doesn't feel, just from the coloring of the scene alone, it doesn't feel like it's a cause for celebration. Even though we have seen Armin obviously nuke Eren, there's still that uncertainty, and again, it's really good. There's something not quite right. Something still not quite finished about it. We get to see Armin. He looks great in his Titan form. And then we get to see the big explosion for Eren, which is massive. And the characters aren't even surprised. They're just like, yeah, didn't think it would work. Let's carry on.
Yep. God, that's one of my favorite moments reading month to month, I guess. Because really, in chapter 137, when that ends and like you blow up Eren, it's kind of like, where does it go from here? Like, is he going to come back? Is it actually over? Is Izayama going to subvert everything and Eren is actually dead here? Then when he transforms next chapter, it's just like such a, like, wow, look at him. He looks completely different as well. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite moments.
Well, something actually, I don't know if you caught this in a change and whether you thought it was good or bad. They did skip a few lines of dialogue, actually, about Gabby explaining about how the Shining Centipede came out the first time she cut Eren's head off. And how it might happen again. Yeah. They kind of skipped all that and kind of just let the audience, I guess, intuit that.
Yeah, I think it was fine. Like, yeah, made sense enough.
It was just a minor thing.
I think, particularly if you are binge watching it, it's fine.
Yeah.
I think maybe with this much in between, people get confused.
Possibly. Yeah. But I think they would at least, the anime audience would definitely recognize the centipede the moment it came out. Like,
Probably.
I would have thought. Yeah. We get the nice shot of Eren with all the fire behind him. We're now getting like a color palette shift again that is just going to be so good. This sort of dark, fiery, almost apocalyptic.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's on fire. It's so good. Annie and her father almost get the reunion.
Yep.
And then we get a scene that I don't think was as good in the end. We've chosen it as our background, but I like the manga one better because you see their faces, and I think that's better.
Interesting.
I do think it's better. Now maybe in the manga that you kind of have to because you're not hearing it, so you can't intuit things as much, and it's not just, in the anime you can maybe make the argument that their voice performance is all you need. But I liked seeing their faces, of seeing almost like that look of not satisfaction, but just, they were prepared. You could see it on their faces that they were just ready. They'd accepted their fate. And yeah, I don't know. I preferred the manga version of that scene. But I did enjoy watching all the anime.
I'm scrolling through.
I did enjoy watching the anime.
I don't even remember.
Crying their eyes out at that scene. A bunch of them. It's so.
Oh yes, I see it.
It's so interesting as well. A bunch of them hadn't sort of been paying enough attention. So even when Connie said Ragako, like when you said that, I was immediately like, oh fuck. But then the anime only sort of didn't realize it until it panned to Jean and Connie and they realized they'd been left behind.
Yeah. I don't have like a strong opinion either way. I do like the idea of just not seeing their faces. and just like intuiting it from the voice acting.
I think in the
it is
anime
quite
that would
powerful.
work. In the manga, it wouldn't have worked, but in the anime, I guess it does. It does. It does work. It's just a preference thing. I don't think the scene's bad. I just think it's a scene I prefer in the manga a little bit more. But I guess I guess the anime as well frames it so it's just the two of them. The manga, you still see other characters in the background as well. So I don't know, mixed bag.
Well, I cried for this bit as well, so I like it.
Yes. Oh no, it's an incredibly sad scene, and like the emotion of like Peak's voice actress, because we don't really see her, screaming and crying a lot. So again, giving it her all.
Yep.
Falco's Beast Titan roaring. I remember in the manga getting really confused because it showed like glowy eyes and glowy mouth, like Zeke's scream. I remember at the time me thinking it was some kind of thing where it's like because he's linked to the Beast Titan. I was kind of like, oh, I wonder if that's like an involuntary thing that the Shining Centipede is like making him do, or is like that's happening because of the effect of it, and that's how the transformation's happening. I know that's total rubbish now, but at the time that's what I was thinking. Because like, why on earth did they draw him like having like a glowy effect on his scream? But
he was just angry.
Yes, very angry. And then we get the transformation, and the Titan's doing some absolutely fucking sick jumps off the cliff. Like there's a microsecond of a shot of them all falling down, looking like properly fucking ready to go, angry, like they have like the Titans look like they have purpose.
I did like that. It really felt like he was summoning, or that thing was summoning an army, like they said. I thought that was very well done.
And then after that, obviously, all of the fight that we get, Reiner, like as it's coming towards him, making the screaming, you see the Titans, and Reiner is just absolutely Reiner's best moment, I think. Just him fighting against it, having to deal with it all.
I love the dialogue where he says, "When will our torment end?"
Yes,
that was really great because it's like everyone has been suffering so much, he has suffered so much, and it just never ends. And it's like this is his breaking point. Like,
I also liked the idea because we've had such a long, like, when you watch those episodes back to back, it's like, wow, there's a lot of action. You're almost feeling a little bit of fatigue at this point in like the amount of action going on. And I felt another like really big, like say like the final movie is Return of the King, right? Of Lord of the Rings, right? And those ones where you do have like so much action that you're like, wow, this is exhausting. And the fact that he mentions it almost like validates you when you're watching it. And you're like, yeah, no, this is exhausting. When will it end? Like, and in like a good way. And so, yeah, I quite like that in almost a weird meta sense where like reminds me like, yeah, right. Reiner knows my battles too. Yeah.
And then again, Peak and Annie both, like the Annie voice actress giving, because I don't think we'd really heard her screaming that much in any of the anime. So yeah, really, you could really hear the emotion, and it was so good. Just like the three Titans fighting against the source of their power, fighting everything to stop it, and it's just the animation team. Credit to them because it looks incredible.
Yep.
And I think as well, I'm sure I remember reading like a post or something, or like from a snippet from an interview with Isayama, where he said that he was really concerned when he was writing those final chapters about whether Mappa would even be able to animate it. Not in like a their shit kind of way, but just like, I'm drawing stuff that is just not ever been animated before. Is this even going to be possible? Like, he was really concerned for the Mappa animation team when he was drawing his final few chapters. And
yeah, I think Mappa has done an amazing job at the impossible task of the rumbling.
Yeah.
Like just the sheer scale of it, how many colossal titans we've seen over the course of this thing, it's insane. And they did a very good job.
Yeah. It's
yes, very true.
Mikasa's it's incredible. Mikasa's getting her horrible headaches, like, and then we get the scene that I know a lot of people really love this scene. I think it's fine. I think it's cute. I never really vibed with it. I never really thought, it never sat that emotionally big with me. I thought it was, obviously I understand that it's an important thing. I don't know. It's just a scene that's kind of like, okay, it's a cute scene, but it's not a huge scene for me. And that's like Mikasa's alternate history with Eren that he shows her right before everything. And I'm aware that could totally be a contentious thing. I don't know. I don't mind. And I understand why it's there. I think it's important to be in the story, but for me personally, I think it's because like what I think is surrounding it is so fucking epic and so emotionally charged that it just sits a bit different for me. I don't know what I'm saying. Please, someone else jump in with a better take.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something, Bacon.
No.
Okay, let me think. So
Also,
okay.
in the anime, Eren has too much neck in that scene. It looks weird. There's something weird about how he's been drawn.
Probably he's too normal, you know. He's not angry as he always is these days. It's interesting. The first time I read chapter 138, I felt no emotion whatsoever for this Mikasa thing because I was like, what's actually going on here lore-wise? Like, is this like the moment where we find out that this is going to be like a big multiverse thing and Mikasa is changing the history and everything? And that was like my first experience reading this. And I don't know, like I definitely didn't feel that this time because I knew exactly what was happening. But I feel like this is one of those artistic scenes, I guess, where it kind of feels like a pause from everything you're seeing to do something like more symbolic or artistic, which is like showing the life that Mikasa wanted, but also the fact that she's like the scene, I guess what I'm thinking of is the head at the end where she's like holding Eren's head. Like that's kind of symbolic to me in a way. But I don't really feel any emotion from it rather than just thinking, wow, this is like kind of cool to look at.
Yeah,
I don't know. That would be my take for the scene.
I posted this screenshot, by the way, of when I'm talking about Eren's neck. It's so weird.
Amazing.
I don't get it.
Hold up.
It's like symbolic of him being half Titan, half human in this moment. I don't know. I got no idea.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, I did. Yeah, the neck was a little weird. I think one thing which I'll go back and actually prop up our big boy Kyle with is that the great thing about this scene is that it shows that even in Mikasa's perfect vision, Eren doesn't understand her and doesn't really understand what the scarf means to her. Because he mentions that, I'll give up on the scarf once I'm dead. And it's like, no, don't be selfish. That's not the point of the scarf. And only once the bird wraps that scarf around Mikasa at the end does it really show that Eren understood and Mikasa understood Eren about what that scarf meant and what it meant to each other.
Oh, it's
and it's almost like, and it's this kind of confirmation that this is, in a weird way, the best timeline, you know, at least for Mikasa. And like, it's like, despite what you may dream, like this is still, or to have happened, it's like, you're still not really making progress. You're still stood still in time. And it's one of those, I think in general, I'm a really big fan of this scene where it's like, it just kind of takes a bit of a step back and helps you cool down a little bit and reflects on these characters together, and also gives, I guess, a little bit of that Eren Mikasa fan service as well. But then also like has something kind of meaningful to say and still stuff to dig into. Yeah.
No, I understand that. The scarf bit is actually really good. I hadn't really thought as much about that. And the understanding thing, what you said there about the saddest thing of like, you know, Mikasa's dream is actually one where Eren still doesn't understand her. It reminded me a little bit of something from a sort of kind of tragic scene from the Demon Slayer Mugen Train movie. Actually, it's when they're all in their dream worlds. So in order to, without, you know, spoiler alert, I guess, for like one of an earlier arc of Demon Slayer, is that the way the demon tricks them is he puts them into these deep sleeps where they get to basically lead out their ultimate dream, their perfect dream. So Tanjiro gets to see his family still alive. Zenitsu gets to basically be dating Nezuko. Inosuke is basically commanding them like his little minion army. But then Rengoku's got this heartbreaking one where in his perfect dream, his dad is still an asshole to him, even in his ideal world. Like, you know, he's not even capable of picturing a world which could be better than that. And it's like, that's not even the point of the text, really. It never comes across as that, but it's just something someone observed. And you reminded me of that when you said that it's like, oh wow, it's like, that's like really, there's like a real deep tragedy to that when you realize it. Yeah.
No, there is like like there's the limit of your imagination and things that there are things that are just thought of as constant.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
But after that sappy shit, we get a fucking awesome scene of Eren and Armin punching each other. It's so good.
So cool.
Like, I was really worried that, partly because, season 4, part 1, obviously season 4, part 1, Colossal Titans didn't look great. Obviously, we'd seen Wit's attempt at doing the Colossal Titan doing action. We'd not really seen good Colossal Titan at all, in any kind of action sense. And then when we get, it's like, oh, there's going to be the fight. The second last chapter has 2 of them fucking duking it out, but it looks incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're each landing hits. Armin fucking grabs Eren's hair to pull him down, and then fucking socks him in the jaw. Oh, it's so good. And like the lighting and everything. It's like the fight. It's like literally the end of the world because it's just fire and embers and smoke everywhere.
It feels like a very climactic fight to all the climactic fights in Attack on Titan, yeah.
And then, Mikasa makes the decision. She wraps the scarf. We're seeing like freeze frames of the other of everyone else fighting. Something else as well I just noticed while I was looking through it there. During the close-up of her face, I think it's the most detailed I've ever seen her scar, which obviously Eren gave her as well. Like, I've never seen it have that much detail. Maybe it's just because I haven't seen a close up of her face with that much detail again. Let you guys see which scene I'm looking at specifically. But just like every little mark and bit of tissue in that scar is visible, and there's real depth to it. I don't think that was intentional. Maybe I think it's just a fact of the fact that whichever animator was just going 100% with this shot. But
it's great.
Yeah, it is. That is really cool. I'm a big fan of scars. If you lop off some arms, make someone have some burns or something, that's good burn marks. That's cool. So, yeah.
And then
Mikasa should have got a bigger scar instead of just like, oh, I got hit in the face. It should have been like her whole face is cut off. But
what happened to Levi?
Yeah,
exactly. Levi, look at that guy. He's got the glass eye now. Got all the little stitches. That's cool.
And then we also get, speaking of Levi, in the manga, he just shoots the Thunder Spear off the back of Falco.
Ooh,
but in the anime, we get the fucking insanity of him flying through all those rocks, slicing them open, sliding down. You see him split his leg wound open again. It's incredible. And from what I can gather from seeing people on Twitter, apparently the person who did this is the same animator who did the Levi Kenny scene in season 3, episode 2.
That animator has done tons of Levi clips, and it was almost like really nice to see that. Like,
so similar.
They got this final shot and send off for
because I assumed that animator worked exclusively for Wit. I guess are they maybe contracts, or did they come in from Wit to work on this particular scene? Did they go, okay, can we have your absolute fucking goated animator, please, for the last Levi action scene?
So the animator, to give them their due, is Arifumi Mai, and so they've done a ton of like you just like from season 1 as well. They did like whenever you see like Attack on Titan, Levi doing like the Beyblade, like that was him as well. So that was very cool.
When I guess my favorite shot of his is when Eren takes out Bertolt, basically. Like there's zoom up shot from like the bottom of his feet of the Colossal Titan going all the way up to the head of the Colossal Titan. It's just like, I can't believe how someone drew that. It's like so cool. It's in the same episode as like Levi versus the Beast Titan as well. It's crazy.
That's the thing.
That he did both those shots in that one episode.
Yeah, I'm not up to date with which animators worked on which stuff. It's one thing I find I'm really bad with anime is I'm not very good at knowing, recognizing like, specific. I mean, I can maybe tell a small amount of things, but I'm not as good at recognizing that stuff. So I'm glad that the community as a whole does find that, because I think it is worth pointing out that kind of stuff. Because it's
I'm going to just compile a bunch of videos for you to slap during like the stuff that this guy has done for AOT is kind of insane.
It's absolutely incredible. That whole scene, like it was a pretty short scene in the manga, but they extended it in the anime and make it one of the coolest action shots in the history of the show. And
You know what's interesting? I was looking on Wikipedia for this episode, and Arifumi Imai is listed as the duo like storyboarder as well for this episode, which is interesting.
Because there's something else I noticed, something that really made me realize, especially when it was him. It's when Mikasa shoots her ODM wires out. It's like the exact same thing. The way they rotate and uncurl and fly towards the Eren's teeth is identical to how Levi enters the bar in season 3, episode 2.
Yeah, it's like the spiral helix into straighten up is super satisfying.
Yeah, it's so good. And then she comes in, and Eren looks all sad. Again, like we got a little bit of it, and it was kind of obvious. And in the manga, I thought the manga portrayed it really well as well. But just like the anime, just that really slow. But it's like really slow. It's really slow-mo, but it also looks like it's really high frame rate. It's so smooth, just the way he opens his eyes and slowly looks up at her. And there's just that blank.
Why can't you send it?
Hmm?
I can send bigger than 8 megabytes. Holy moly! Okay, we're running now.
Nice. Yeah, it's just that whole scene. It looks like it was shot at a higher frame rate, but then still kept at the same playback speed. I don't know. It's just there's a real smoothness to it, but not like when you accidentally turn on motion smoothing on your TV and anime starts to look shite. It looks like it fits perfectly.
Yep.
And then as everyone online was talking about how in Eren's eyes, Mikasa in Eren's eyes looks more beautiful than we as the audience get to see her.
Oh,
that's the thing that people are going on about. If you the reflection,
that's pretty cool.
The reflection in Eren's eyes shows a more beautiful rendition of Mikasa than we as the audience see. I didn't spot that when I was first watching.
Oh my word! Yeah. Okay, this animator is the GOAT. I'm just having a look. He did like some of the coolest shots in maybe he is a wit guy because he did some of the coolest shots in Ranking of Kings.
Okay.
But
which means potentially they managed.
Like he's doing this.
They potentially collabed with Wit just to get him to just come and do this. Oh yeah, so good. I'll make sure to have clips up whilst we're chatting.
Yes.
So this is an interesting one.
I mean, he's the guy who did the Armored Titan breaking through the wall first time. So there you go.
Oh, I love that scene. Love that scene. So something I thought in the anime was I thought the kiss in the anime was a lot better than it was, or sorry, it was a lot less weird in the anime than it was in the manga. I don't know. I remember everyone losing their fucking mind over that scene in the manga.
No, I could agree that it's less macabre or less weird.
Yeah,
I guess.
Less macabre is probably better.
I like it less because of that. I think for me that's probably my favorite visual, I guess, from the manga because it is like a double page spread right at the conclusion of the entire story. I like how there's like blood dripping down from Eren's neck.
I was about to say maybe
that's
it.
We don't get to see that kind of.
Maybe it's because it's the turn the page to the double page macabre shot rather than the anime has all this sort of dramatic slow build up to it. You get a zoom shot on Ymir smiling rather than just a double page spread of her creep shotting Mikasa snogging a decapitated head.
Yep, I loved Ymir in that scene. She looked great. With like the golden hues from the background, it was great.
So, after that, we get our scene transition to the final chapter, as the anime's called as well. And we get possibly.
He also Sorry, I'm looking. He also did that. Or this guy also did. Hang on, I don't think is this. Yeah, no, it is. He's the guy who did the one and only good piece of Sakuga in Vinland Saga, which is
there's two bits that are good.
Fight. Yeah, anyway, sorry. I'm just realizing this guy is like behind so many great moments. He is the GOAT. And I hadn't got his name before. I only knew Yutaka Nakamura with his Utamon cubes and all that. So you probably should learn some names, huh? How about that? And not get surprised by this kind of stuff. Sorry, continue on.
So then we come to the discussion between Armin and Eren with some of the most significant changes, arguably to the story. Well, some of the big changes to not to the story, but to the perspective of the ending. Maybe to the story, yeah. Like, I saw, one of the big things is Eren bringing up that he genocides 80% of humanity is one of the last things that he brings up to Armin rather than one of the first things. which again, really, some of this is coming from a video I saw about. It was like how Attack on Titan anime fixed the ending. Fixed, I think, is the wrong word, but I think
was that the one with that thumbnail that I was like, that's a good bait thumbnail.
maybe yes. I can't remember.
Yeah,
but maybe
it had like the thumbnail of they fixed it.
I think so. Yeah, they fixed it. Yeah,
that's good bait. That's good.
Fixed is the wrong word, but I think definitely I think what they had is definitely the changes they made are definitely for the better. I don't think there's a single change with the ending that I disagreed with.
Ooh, okay.
I don't think we'll
Cool.
get into this. I'll maybe when you bring it up, I'll change my view on that. But
All right.
yeah, so moving that means that the final thing they discuss is the genocide stuff, and everything prior to that, Armin is still able to relate to Eren on a personal level because he's not found out the horrifying truth. But
I think that's a good change. Yeah, I agree.
which means that so he's still able to just talk to Eren normally because he doesn't know, and then finally we get to the grown-up genocide discussion where they are both grown-ups when they talk about it rather than the kids kind of, I guess, almost ignoring it. But anyway, before we get to that particular change, is there anything about the lead up to that, like about the... I mean, I thought the bit where Eren made it even more clear that it was him who sent Dina's Titan to kill.
Guys, I've got another thing.
Oh
The
no!
goat has struck again.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Jesus Christ, Bacon. What is it? Is it something from Vinland Saga?
No. This is it. One Punch Man season 1. The
I thought so.
Genos fight. I actually can't. I don't have enough. It's too long. It's too much Sakuga to put in Discord. It's insane. Yeah. So the whole fight of them. Sorry. There you go. I'm trying to find this one clip that you really liked, Ari, of him.
Oh, don't worry. I'll
3.
find. Oh, you know what? I'll find it. You've done enough searching.
He also did the Mikasa OVA scene where she's got abs out. That's the meme one.
Oh, that was
God, I
him.
love that.
Oh my god.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, crazy. He's done
This
everything.
guy carried Attack on Titan. My god.
Yeah.
Okay, so just thoughts on.
Yeah. What were we saying?
We were discussing. I was going to say we'll discuss. First of all discuss any of the bits before they have their grown-up discussion in the pool of blood. So things like about how Ymir chose Mikasa, where they're in the lava. I think when they're in the lava scene's really cool. Again, the lighting, fucking goated lighting.
Okay.
Where he has.
I have one. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's just I think it's all good. The bit again, they made it more clear in the anime that it was definitely Eren who killed his own mum. Whilst the manga, I can't remember if it was Kyle or not who was like, no, it's not about that when we first reviewed the chapter, but I can't remember. Maybe I'm being maybe I'm not being fair to Kyle. Maybe it wasn't him who said that. But anyway.
Kyle says those are stupid stuff. That's probably him.
So you had one. Was
God.
it one thing you disagree with there, Ari?
What was I saying? Oh, no. One change, a very interesting, strange change they made. Which is obviously no one is going to care about this besides me, because I have a video on this. For some reason, when Eren and Armin are talking basically as kids, right at the beginning of the final part of this episode, they're sitting near the steps on the water in Shiganshina. But compared to the manga, they're sitting on the other side of the steps. So instead of being on the left side of the steps or whatever, they're on the right side of the steps. And I'm kind of like, what a weird, oddly like specific choice of thing to change. And I just don't know. I mean, no one's. I wonder if like how many other people even notice this. But like,
I feel like I remember your video on this stuff, so I can understand why that scene might have.
It's interesting.
Might have perturbed you a little bit.
So is there like do you have like an issue with this? Does it change?
No, not really, not particularly. So the reason I don't have an issue is that this scene, I guess that to me the importance of this scene is that it's, I guess the importance of the location of this particular scene, showing them as kids particularly, is that when they were kids and Armin showed Eren the book about the outside world, this is where he showed him for the first time. It was near the canals of Shiganshina at a particular location. Now, the reason I don't particularly have an issue with changing the side of the stairs that they're doing it at is that this location, the same memory of seeing the book for the first time is drawn completely inconsistently across the different manga chapters that it shows up. So I don't think Izayama really cared about the details of where that scene took place. But the interesting thing is that in the anime, every appearance we've seen of it, which there aren't that many, I think it's like twice or something, it has been shown consistently. Now, obviously, what we're seeing now in this final episode isn't that scene. We're not seeing that past scene of them actually seeing the book for the first time. We're kind of getting the echo of it. Like, we're feeling the feelings of that happening because they're in the same similar location with the same kind of appearance and everything. But it's just a interesting change to not exactly put them in the same place, you know, which is perfectly fair.
Yeah.
Like, you still get the point of the actual scene, which is like, oh, they're remembering, or they're like going back to that first moment when they were kids, like sharing these ideas. But yeah, it's a small, interesting change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's totally fair. So, yeah, I can't.
Bad episode.
Yeah. Sorry, bad episode.
Bad episode. They ruined it.
But the redeems itself because we get our good incel Eren. That's another reason why Titan folk were the Titan folk were huffing the copium and the hopium about an anime only ending where incel Eren wouldn't happen, but it still happened.
Oh, how did you guys feel watching this scene? Because obviously this is the biggest, like, I guess even during this, like when he punches Eren and Eren is like talking about the biggest thing, that's kind of where it feels like, oh my god, they could go anywhere here. Like, it really feels like they're willing to make changes at this point. Like, what are they going to change? I was like on the edge of my seat, I guess, watching this. I was like, what's going to happen?
I was really interested to see as well. I was like, are they going to change this? Are they going to make Eren less pathetic? Are they going to... And it's like, no, if anything, they make him more pathetic because the voice actor just sounds like a fucking chud when he's doing it. Again, so good.
Yeah, I think it's more...
And I think as well,
like, for me, like, even watching it, I was thinking to myself, I was like, wow, like, that is a quick change in personality, but he is really pathetic. Yeah. And like, even when I was expecting it, I was like,
another little detail that I think added to the patheticness is how they've done, like, the punch mark in his face stays there and is like overlapping his lip a little bit. And it's just like, it wasn't quite as... I mean, there was just like a mark in the manga. And again, it just makes him look so fucking pathetic. And it's so good. And his dialogue is so cringe, but that's the point.
Yeah.
And then I start feeling bad for him. I'm like, okay, now I actually feel bad for this guy because he's stupid and he didn't actually realize that if he just was like, hey, Mikasa likes you, you could have fixed it all. You know? Like, not exactly, but that was almost my impression where I was like, oh, I actually feel... Oh, Eren's actually a human. Oh my word. Like, you know, he doesn't have to be like stoic.
Yeah. That's one of the things I think is really good about this. Is I think it does such a good job of humanizing him without forgiving him for what he's done. Like, and I think this is where the big argument about the ending and about the justification of genocide, and when I had the chats with my friends about it, because they hadn't read the manga, they only got to see the anime, and I showed them the manga afterwards, and they were like, yeah, I can understand where the frustration came from. But they were very much on the ground of, you can humanize a bad person. You know, what Eren has done is completely unforgivable, but you can still humanize and empathize with him on a personal level, and understand. You know, a big theme in Attack on Titan, understanding.
Yeah.
I think as well that whole scene, the phase shift. You know, when Armin looks down and realizes they're in blood, and then it pans out and it's just a blood-soaked continent, basically continents flattened by the rumbling.
Yeah, that was a great change. Yeah,
it's so good, and like the horror that crosses his face, like you can see everything, and then Eren's like 80%. I trample 80% of humanity, and like his face is just, because in the manga, because they kind of cut to the next scene, it's like Kid Armin when he finds out that fact kind of just looks just a little bit sad. Kind of like an, oh, I see. But then anime Armin's like, you know, looks absolutely horrified at what he's just been told. Like, almost beyond shocked. We get the close-up of his eye, stammering, just everything, just absolutely unable to comprehend it. And then we get the change that is so much better, which is such an improvement over the manga, in my opinion.
I think like this whole idea of the framing device of going through time and here's multiple points is such a smart visual storytelling thing. Of being like, oh, look how far we've come. It's like almost wraps an epilogue into this big moment as well. So the side point, but yeah. And the line itself, I think, yeah, it is just clearer. I like. There's some part of me that I'm just like, it was fine in the manga. You're just dumb, but I don't think that's actually the case. That's just like my gut reaction. I think it's more like it is a way more obvious like
Yeah.
we're mates. I've done awful things and just portraying like Armin's guilt in there, which isn't in the first line, which Armin does have.
Yeah.
Like it takes you all the way back to season 1 where he did just nuke a city and then is looking down almost emotionlessly, but you can still feel emotion. I remember that scene. It's like powerful. So yeah,
And again, Armin, like his love for his friend, his personal connection, he's willing to shoulder the burden of the genocide that his friends committed, if only to try and help his friend feel at least not peace or better, but just so he won't try and help him not feel alone in everything. And I think, I think it is. I think, yeah. I just think I don't even know what it's so good. Like watching that ending, it was so good. Even the bit where Eren says, "I'm an idiot who just was given power."
Yeah,
and it's like, yes, that is.
Yeah, I think that's the best change.
It's like that is absolutely what happened. Eren was a bit.
I think it also comments on like who Eren is. Like it's like he's trapped because of who he is, and it's like a sad thing. There's no freedom there.
There is a tragedy, and I would argue it makes him much more sympathetic than even before, if the characters were in the previous version, it was justifying genocide. This still makes him more sympathetic, whilst more harshly condemning what he did.
Yeah,
and then obviously we get this. Well, sorry, on you go.
Yeah, I think. For this, it is hard to think. It's like, how do you break this to people that helps them understand it better? And yeah, I mean, this is so many things. Like, I wish, like, if I could go back, I could erase my mind, binge all of Attack on Titan in one go with the dub, and then feel my initial impression there, like without having read the manga, because basically, like the reveal that he is just an idiot, I feel like I would have loved so much. Like the fact that you're just sitting there, like I don't feel that much emotional connection now, but it just made so much more sense this second time through. Probably because the dialogue changes, probably because my second time, experience this part of the story and being like, why did Eren do it? Why did he do it? And it's like, I still get personally confused about the whole, like, was he actually determined to do it?
I think there was I think it's still hinted that there was an element he wanted to do, but I think Attack on Titan's timeline thing is that it is fixed. Nothing he could have done would have changed anything, because even when he tried to change things that he'd seen in the future, they happened anyway, is what he was saying.
But then it's also a sort of like there is no free will. Like he is who he is because of the environment he grew up in, and he's been predisposed by his father, like almost anointing him that he will keep on pushing forward. And this almost like because of what happened into his life, this is what he was going to do no matter what.
I think that is one of the great tragedies of Eren, that he the ultimate seeker of freedom, literally never had any his whole life. There is like,
but he could have. But he could have, and it's like, but he wouldn't have ever chosen that. Because it's.
There's a couple of other little things that I'm going to bring up here that I love. I love that how Armin picks up the shell and Eren just picks up a clump of hair and teeth and blood, and it's just absolutely fucking disgusting. I like as well how he's like, I wanted to do this for you guys, but Sasha and Hanji still died. And I really liked in the anime that he brought up specifically that he put them in conflict with Flock, which shows he never gave a fuck about Flock. Flock was never his friend. Flock was just a tool to enact the plan. And I love that, because everyone's like, oh yeah, Eren, Flock, goated, based, all the Nazis and Titan folk and stuff. And it's like, no, Flock is not one of the people he cares about. Flock is not his friend, because Flock wanted to sacrifice Armin for Erwin. Eren has never liked Flock. He just saw Flock as a useful tool to enact the rumbling and to enact the steps he would need to. And I love that. I love that it's just this tacit admission that Flock is just a douchebag that nobody liked.
Yeah, but he did have a cool scene, though.
He did have a cool scene.
That Mapakara, the Sakuga. I mean, that's the thing, though. It's like, Flock kind of cringe, but also hey, it's Attack on Titan, baby, and he got a cool moment, so let's pop off for Flock. You know, like it's almost like yeah, like I do like that is a really good inference, and I do like that a lot. But I also like, I guess, like stepping back is it's one of those things where it's like let's not, yeah, like I don't know. That's why I don't want to look at Titanfall because then it makes me us versus them instead of just being like, oh, Attack on Titan's cool, you know.
I mean, there is that. Yeah, it was so funny. The Flock stuff actually. When I was watching it with my friends, one of them could from like the moment he met him, he didn't like Flock, and then when Flock showed up in the hangar,
no.
he was like, "Oh, is he still not fucking dead? Please, please kill him." And he was just he said that, yes, I mean, like, finally, horrible little Nazi is finally dead.
I think it's more like his hair's bad from the beginning. He's pathetic at the start. He's not even like a courageous soldier that wants to go die in the battle. He's like, why are we doing this? And it's like, I don't feel like he's meant to be likable. Anyway, it's one of those things where it's like, he's never made to try and be that likable. But yeah. I do like how at least Jean had like some pretty conflicting morals over him.
Yeah, I think
when they killed him as well.
I think Flock is interesting as a character, and I think he was a necessary character to exist. But it still doesn't change the fact that he's a pathetic Nazi who I'm really happy got killed. Got killed the way he did. You know, it was... and his final wish didn't come true. So
true.
So yeah, so we have the Eren and Armin conversation. We get the really nice thing where Eren finally sees the shell for the first time, and Armin's like, "Oh, it's because you were always looking ahead and never looking at what was in front of you, never looking what was actually there."
And
then
because he didn't see the shell that Armin had in that scene. Oh, crazy!
And then we get the hug, and the hug's incredibly cute. I loved it. It was just like we'll be together forever in hell. Agree. It's.
All right, I'm going to give my criticism though.
Okay.
I like the hug. I mean, it's a very small criticism, and I feel like there's probably, I think I've heard this in other people, so I'm not alone. Which is that I think some of the, I have two particular elements that I think is a little bit too much and feels a bit like fan fictiony, I guess. And one of them is the famous line about he's a slave to freedom. I guess I like the concept and I completely agree with it, but for Eren to say it kind of feels like it's a step too far. Okay, I guess.
Yeah. I can appreciate that. Yeah, it's it's almost kind of meta because that's like what the thematic. It's almost like what the thematic.
That's what we would say in our scripted YouTube videos. Yes, exactly. That is not something that. Feels almost too on the nose. That's something for us to interpret later.
Because Armin called him a slave, but he didn't call him a slave to freedom.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. It took me a while to figure out like what is he referring to there, because he's like, oh, it's just as you said. Like as far as I understand, he was referring to when he was yelling at him back at like when he yelled at Mikasa and told her that he doesn't love her or like her or anything. I'm assuming that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, I think Armin was calling him a slave because he was under the impression at that point that Armin was a slave to what Zeke wanted, because they hadn't realized that Eren was, they didn't know Eren's plan at the time. So I think they assumed that he was just going along with Zeke and was a slave to Zeke. But I think that's but I think it's that scene still pissed him off so much. Like you saw how angry Eren got at that, because I think even he knew at that point. Because I think like one of the things I always thought of is the reason Eren is so determined at that point to try and reach the future is I think like he's trying to almost like deny that he's a slave, so he's trying to do it because he wants to do it rather than because he knows he has to do it, or that because it will happen regardless. So I think that's kind of where I always imagined Eren's sort of emotional drive during a lot of that during like a lot of the War for Parody, like his determination, his anger, his and so on, and when he's doing certain things was because he knew or he wanted to kind of accept that it was his choice, when obviously it wasn't necessarily. That's kind of the interpretation I got when I was reading lots of threads of like, oh, why did Eren seem so depressed and then suddenly become so determined, only to become depressed again when he actually made contact with the Ymir. And it's like that was kind of my interpretation, but and
I like it.
And that was sort of expressed further when he was so pissed off when Armin called him a slave. Anyway, you said you had a second criticism as well?
Oh yeah, true, I did. I think also the fact that Yeah, it's tough. Explicitly, Aaron saying that he tested a bunch of things to see if his vision of the future was true. I like the idea, and I like the idea that it reconciles what everyone was thinking, which is that he's laughing because Sasha died, for instance, because he like saw it in his vision or something, like things like that, where it's like he clearly was trying to change things and nothing ended up changing. It kind of solidifies that in the actual text. But I don't know, just him saying it kind of felt like a thing where I'm like, oh, I don't need to hear this.
Yeah,
but,
okay, no, I understand that. I think as well, especially considering that we kind of got that almost clearly in the flashback scene he has when in the rumbling chapter where he goes, I'm supposed to save this kid, and he walks away, and then the next shot is him having saved him anyway. And it's like, you know, there's that whole conflict, that whole scene. I think knowing what comes later on, if you remember that scene, it kind of sets up of, oh well, he did try, you know, no matter, even when he tried to change his past, he couldn't, or change his future, I should say, he couldn't.
But that's it. It's all my complaints.
I think, yeah,
and I think it was great.
I think those are both completely fair. But the overall, again, the overall, I think it's so good. Again, I hate calling it fixing the ending because I don't think the ending was inherently bad. I just think it was a bit messy, I think is maybe what I would call it. It's tidied up the ending, is I guess the more appropriate.
Yeah,
the more appropriate expression. And I think the extra scenes are very good. I do really like that. The more the personal emotion, the personal connection and understanding feels stronger than it did in the manga. So, and then we get the we move to the scene where of a world without the Titan power fading, and it's pretty.
Oh no, I have another complaint.
Oh no, on you go.
It is about that. The fact that for me, it didn't feel important enough when they said like we live in a world without Titans or something. It felt like, because in the manga, I'm pretty sure it's a double page spread, or it feels like a big deal, definitely in like my memory of the chapter. Yeah. Whereas in the anime, it kind of felt like you blink and you miss it. It's kind of like they show like Gabby and everything, like being surprised, but I'm like, oh wow, that was it, and then it disappears, and I'm like, oh, it didn't feel like as big of a deal as I remember, because obviously the Titan powers disappearing is like a massive deal, right? Like it's the whole draw of this show initially was the Titans, and now they're gone forever, and it feels like they didn't focus on it enough. But it was still there. Like they adapted the panel pretty closely, except being a bit more zoomed in, I guess, but need more emphasis on it, you know.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it now.
I also agreed. I feel like they detransitioned pretty quickly.
Yeah, it also changes it. It also happens at a slightly different time. So in the anime. Oh wait, no, maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, no, no, never mind. No, I'm talking shit. Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Again, the double page spread part of it is is right. It's still good. Again, Armin's voice actor fucking kills it with the crying and the screaming.
Oh my god, yeah. Like when he sees Aaron's head and he just cries so loudly. That is the most emotional moment in this episode for me. God, yeah, it's crazy. I couldn't believe it. That moment didn't stand out to me at all when I was reading the manga, but it's like my favorite part of this episode, which is crazy.
It's so good. It's incredible. I still don't know how I feel about the whole Mikasa saying she regained her memories when one of the points of the Ackermans is their memories can't be erased. I always interpreted the reason we see her scene right before she kills Eren is because Eren wouldn't be able to erase her memories, so he shows her that scene the very moment before she kills him. That's kind of what I always interpreted. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I just always was under the assumption the Ackermans couldn't have their memories erased.
I think that's I think that is what it is. I don't know. It's
which is why I think
it's like ambiguous enough that you could like interpret it however to make it be fine.
Which is why I think in some translations it says Mikasa's like, you got your memories back too, as if she'd gotten them back, but she wouldn't have had lost memories. Like, even though Eren probably explained a lot of stuff to everyone, he couldn't explain it to Mikasa because he couldn't erase her memory afterwards. But yeah.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, I think that I'm looking at the scene just now of the power of the Titans being erased, and it's actually because it's a panning shot rather than a single static shot. It's actually kind of goofy. I'll upload it. Bacon's on a be right back right now. A little sneaky be right back.
Oof. Where's his dedication? My God. Yeah. I don't know. It's also a bit bit too smoky, you know? My God, there's a nice clarity, you know? It's meant to be the relieving moment where you're like, oh my God, all the fog has faded, and now the fog's right in front of us.
But yeah, like Connie and Jean just look a bit odd.
Yeah, they're kind of surprised. They're like, how are we humans again? This doesn't make sense.
As well,
But they're probably also
I'm looking at the
remembering
manga as well. There's a couple of things in the manga. In the manga, Gabby's hair's all messed up, and I love that. She looks good. She's almost got like a mane
True.
in the manga.
Yeah.
And in the anime, and in the manga as well, Reiner is looking at Jean in disbelief because he didn't think he'd get his friend back. In the animation, Reiner's just kind of looking blankly into the air, but in the manga, he's looking at Jean and basically crying because he's just seen his friend.
Yeah, it's like
back.
a character moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to stall. We need to stall.
All right, let me think. It was good, you know. It was cool that they adapted the Peak scene where she's talking about how I wish Aaron spoke to me, and I'm like, haha, true Peak.
Yeah. I'm just realizing I'm gonna go through the frames again here. I swear that I'm about to see it. I don't think this was in the manga. Oh, where is it? Have I skipped past it? Yeah. Let me check the manga.
Sorry, go ahead.
To see if this scene was here, because I don't think it was. I really don't think it was. I could be wrong. No, it wasn't there. We see the corpse of the shining centipede in the anime.
Why do I feel like I've seen this? I feel like that was somewhere in the manga, wasn't it?
I genuinely don't know if it was. That's the...
Interesting.
Viewers have to
because
wait as we sort of scroll through to try and find it, or in my case, flip through the pages.
Yeah. Because my impression was when I saw the anime and I saw the shining centipede like evaporating or whatever, like the disintegrating, dying. My impression was like, oh, that's a bit quicker than I remember in the manga. But now that I'm scrolling through it, I don't see it in the manga. So yeah, maybe I just for some reason I built up in my head that the corpse was there. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, it's wild. Again, that 2-page spread, actually, now that I look at it, I don't remember having much of an opinion on the anime, probably because I just didn't even clock that it even happened in the anime. That 2-page spread in the manga is one of my favorites, actually, of them realizing that the power of the Titans is gone. So yeah, no, that shot isn't great in the anime.
Thank you. I'm glad.
Watch.
But don't worry, I don't have many more complaints, all right? Until we get to the final bit of this episode, then I'll have a bunch. Right?
Oh, you'll have a bunch? Oh, great. Oh, I can't wait.
Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. They're not really complaints. I have a bunch of great things. Have I gone over them? Let's see.
We are coming up to 3 hours. This is great.
What a saga. Even Kai Entertainment showed up. My God.
Yeah, I know. It's wild. Actually, one of my favorite reaction channels. I should probably watch their whole video. They're called LM Reactions. I like them because honestly, I'm a sucker and they cry a lot and it's cute when they watch Attack on Titan, and they cried a lot during this episode.
Good. That's what I want from my reactions.
Yeah. But the thing is, a lot of their reaction videos, they have a lot of post-episode discussion that I've never really watched. Like, you know, they'll do like maybe a 8-minute intro or something, and then like, you know, the reaction of a 20-minute episode will be like maybe a 12-minute video, and then they'll have like half an hour of post-episode discussion at least. The episode for the final season is 4.5 hours long for the final episode.
Oh my God, that's awesome!
And
that's like this discussion right here.
And the reaction finishes at like 1 hour 20. So
yeah,
like 2 whole hours of talk. So I am interested. I might sit down and watch that at some point.
That's awesome.
Right. Bacon, are you back?
All right. How about the shot of Gabby tackling Falco? That was great.
It was cute.
Slightly different to the manga because in the manga it's like a frozen moment in time or whatever. Yeah. But I thought it was really well done in the anime.
And the anime, it's also obscured a bit more with the dust as well.
Sure. Oh yeah. Great moment.
There's something else in the little background actually that I'm trying to. Let me just find which bit of the background it's in. Yeah. So it's when I mean, maybe this is too. We're kind of jumping all over the place, but we'll talk about every moment in this scene, I think. So it's when Gabby's hugging her parents. It's right after Sasha's disappeared. You do see it in the manga, but not as much. But in the anime, you really see it in the background of Connie breaking down and Jean comforting him.
Sure, yeah, definitely. You see like a tiny thing of that in the manga.
Yeah, but in the anime,
God,
you see
it's so
like
great.
Sasha's image sort of Thanos dusting away, and then
Mm,
yeah, Connie just kind of almost collapses.
yeah,
And you
it's
get a
great.
tiny bit of that, but again, like because it's a background detail and not in a non full page panel, you barely register it in the manga.
Yeah. I do think all of this wrap up stuff was very emotional and
Yeah, I
handled
mean,
well.
they've got a real. I mean, the song they've got whilst playing again, and okay, let's just go through this. Poor Bacon will have to join us and give us his thoughts later. The characters,
Alright.
the characters saying their stuff about Eren, I think is fine, but it's the stuff after that I think is so good. Like when Annie finally gets to reunite with her dad, when say
Mhm.
like I'm home. We get again we get to see Sasha, which is cute. Reiner's bit with his mum. Actually, when I watched it the first time,
Yeah.
that almost had me cry. Like that was the bit I think I came closest to, where she's like, "You're
Yep.
all I ever needed," and it's just like, "Fucking hell." That's
Yep.
that's a moment.
It feels very authentic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Especially considering in literally the previous episode, we'd had her just sort of because I don't think we'd even seen that much of it prior. Like we'd seen a lot of Reiner's point of view, but he'd never really had flashbacks alluding to the fact that he felt like his mum was using him. We only saw that when we saw Karina's flashback in the previous episode, where she had her flashback
Yeah.
about how she felt she mistreated Reiner. So even though it's a fairly recent thing, you know, we could kind of pick up hints about Karina's attitude throughout. But even then, this scene still hits so fucking hard, even though it's not something that would say is built up as, say, Zeke's background and Zeke's sort of treatment as a
Yeah.
child. So, yeah, no.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I've been deliberate. So, I talked about everything apart from, obviously, the scene from the manga that everyone realized, and something that actually really made me really fucking. It was really weird to watch the anime reactions because I think because half of them weren't paying attention, nobody seemed to notice that Levi cried from the reaction videos that I saw.
I was when I was watching it, I was waiting. I'm
Yeah.
like, when's the tear coming?
I was
When's the tear coming? And then it
I
finally
was
came.
just like, how
okay.
are they doing the tear? How are they going to do it?
Yeah.
How are they going to do him crying? It's like so
Yeah.
important. That whole scene, I think, with Levi was still great though. I think it was excellently done. A bunch of reactions
absolutely.
thought he was dying. Thought he died actually because
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
they were like, oh no, he's gone to scout heaven as well.
Yep. No, he survives till the end. Is the last one. What a
The man
happy, sad
who
thing,
cannot die.
Yeah.
And it's interesting as well when it picks which four scouts to zoom in on, because I think in the manga it's just Erwin and Hanji, but in the anime it's Erwin, Hanji, Moblet, and Petra. Really playing again into that Levi Petra thing, even though I still maintain that's bullshit and Levi's an asexual man.
Yep.
But
good.
All right, I'm back.
He's
sorry, folks.
back. You've missed our entire talk about like the Reiner and his mum being like one of the best moments in all of Attack on Titan, and Levi having
That was pretty good.
like I was saying that was like one of the only bits I genuinely I was on the verge of tearing up when that scene happened on my first viewing. Like that was the bit that almost got me.
Yeah, I think that Levi scene is like so like because of me editing that Kyle video, like it's so ingrained into like my like conscience that like I'm just like, man, I already cried all my tears for that scene when putting it to that music basically. So but it was great without a doubt. I was like, man, I shouldn't have read that stupid manga. I should have just watched the anime.
And
All right,
again,
fellas.
the way
I would be crying so much.
The way they had everything fade out as well, just the effect, like purely from a technical thing, the way the effect was just perfectly done for what they needed it to do.
Yes. No,
yeah. And I was saying to
it's great.
I was saying to Ari as well, one little thing that I think is really cool is it's in the manga, but because it's like a fraction of a panel, you barely notice it. But it's when you're seeing Gabby hugging her parents, the background you see Sasha fade away and you see Connie break down and Jean comfort him. You don't really see that in the manga, but in the anime it's really obvious that it's happening and it's so great.
Yeah, the suplex wasn't as obvious though. That's my issue.
hidden.
No, I thought it was great. It was in the background. It was
Yeah, but it wasn't as like I didn't get to see the whole like the final smash Rooney on the floor. You know, like
I think it's
like,
even. I think it's funnier this way because it was so quick. It's like, what's going on in the background? Oh my god!
We were
Yeah.
we were also criticizing a little bit how the two-page spread at the start of the chapter of like them realizing that there are no Titans anymore wasn't that well done in the anime compared to the manga. The manga was incredible.
Oh yeah,
And I was saying
that's
again,
what I was complaining about.
I was saying as well, like Reiner, the way Reiner's looking at Jean in the manga is so key, but it's just not there in the anime.
Oh yeah, they changed it. Yeah, it's just one of those things where you're like, why do you change that stuff?
Yeah.
But yeah. And then there's the, Armin gets to say goodbye to Mikasa as she prepares to walk across an entire continent with a rotting head. But
yeah, well, and interestingly, she didn't take off her maneuvering gear, which is something she does in the manga that I thought was cool because it's kind of. Oh, she does, and I missed it. Wait, okay, I've only seen this once, so I didn't notice it when I was watching at least.
Oh, she's not even wearing it in the anime at this point.
Oh, maybe that's why. Okay, so she must have just taken it off beforehand, I guess. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, she's already taken it off beforehand.
Well, I forgive the episode then. All right. Sorry, Mappa. Didn't mean to do that.
And we get the call. We get the call back to Armin now having the confidence again because previously he wasn't able to convince a scared stupid military commander because that was his thing. He was trying to. I think his name was Kits Wileman back in season 1.
Yeah, true.
He tried to convince him, but Kits was just like, "Nah, fuck this, shoot them." And then it was only when Pixis came in and intervened. But Armin now has the confidence again. The exact same thing. He rips off his ODM gear and he steps out of the smoke to announce that they're not a threat. And this time he has the confidence and he commands the respect and the authority to do so.
Yep.
Yeah. I will say you have retroactively made that moment better because I found that part of the particularly of the anime particularly lethargic.
In season 1.
That's like season 1. That's like the worst part of season 1 without a doubt. It's this like melodramatic like I was dying. But retrospectively, well done, Armin. Nice job. I like good writing.
Yes. I think I actually ranked that as my lowest episode in my season 1 ranking when I did that. I can't remember. I think it was near the bottom, maybe not actually. I can't remember.
Based.
It wasn't my lowest. And then we get obviously Mikasa has her conversation with Ymir, who has been mommified on the internet, and it really upsets me.
True. It's crazy. That's just what I did not expect that at all. That never even crossed my mind reading the manga.
It's when you told me about it. Like, I'm gonna post something here that I'm probably gonna have to put in the video now because now that I've mentioned it, and it's fucking awful. It's the first thing I saw when I went on Titan Folk, and it's just
yeah. I just saw it today. I was like, this, yeah.
Just like I don't know why
did they even give a glow up in the anime from the manga? I mean, I guess
no. The
I don't think so.
No, the images going around of Ymir are all edited, like to look like that. That's not how she looked. The manga, she just looks like a normal human, like everyone else.
Yeah, I guess the difference is we do see more of her body in the actual anime, so that's probably why people are like thirsting about her. I don't know. It's weird, but she looks like the exact same. It's just like I don't know. Anyway. But that scene, I have a lot of. This was my magnum opus right here, right? The scene with Ymir and Mikasa, because I've made like a few Mikasa Ymir videos, and this scene is the bane of my existence because I was confident for so long that the official translation was a mistranslation. Because in the original scene here, they're talking about how like she's like, oh, sorry. I don't know. She's like, you were the one looking inside my head. And that's all good. I agree with that. She's like, you were living a long, long nightmare. I'm like, yeah, I get that. But then in the manga, in the official translation, she says, and I can't return the life that was stolen from you. And to me, I'm just like, why in this moment is Mikasa kind of saying that Ymir is blameless here? She's kind of saying that Ymir, like something was stolen from her. And it's to me, I just can't reconcile it with my interpretation of Ymir. And when I remember back in the day, like 2 years ago, I did like this. I went basically deep dive into the translation, and I was like, this is so weird. There has to be a mistake, and everyone is like misunderstanding Ymir due to this one line. And then I asked on Reddit, and I was like, "Is there another way to interpret this? Like, could it also be read as like, oh, the lives that are taken can never come back or whatever?" And it's like less about Ymir herself and the life that was stolen from her, and instead the lives that she took, like the lives that because of her actions, all these other people died, which makes a million times more sense. And that's what they did. They say the exact same line in Japanese in the anime, but the actual subtitles, at least on Crunchyroll, say that the lives that were taken will never come back. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so validated because this is the interpretation that most people are going to take away from the anime. So I'm like, thank God. Thank you, Crunchyroll.
I want to have a look again because I've not got the Crunchyroll subs up just now.
Oh, no.
You were always peeking.
what yours will say.
Well, no, I watched on Crunchyroll originally, so I think that's what I got on Crunchyroll. I'm really interested to see what the Blu-ray says. I don't know where this is from. I have no idea. This might have been from like Hulu or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure your love was a long nightmare. The lives lost will never return, but even so,
perfect.
Yes, okay.
That's what we want.
Yep. The lives you created.
The manga just makes no sense.
Yeah, manga bad.
Manga bad.
Well, it's just so interesting because it's like it's an official translation.
Yeah.
Which is also following basically very similar to I think what the fan translation was initially, and it's just like led to so many people being so like weird about this scene, and I don't know. I feel this is a big deal to understand the whole Ymir thing.
That works a little better. Again, I wanted to bring up. I was going to bring up maybe a bit later, but I'll bring it up now because I'll inevitably forget later. How Isayama's gone on record, I think, saying that the anime is the definitive edition of Attack on Titan. I personally disagree with that, and I think the definitive edition is whichever worked better at any given point, which I know is such a cop-out answer. But it's like if the manga does a lot of stuff better and the anime does some stuff better, and I think where the anime does do better, like the ending change, we should go with that version. But if the manga is just better at something, we're obviously going to take that. Or I'm obviously going to take that. So I think it's nice having both because it means we have two tellings of a story and we can build the best version of that story by combining that together.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like to me, my go-to example is that I love so much that the anime did was the flower petals and the rising embers of Ymir's village. To me, that's like a massive, great change that they made, which is forever like in my interpretation of Attack on Titan. Like the cohesive thing in my mind includes that.
But the anime also had the goal to not include "See You Later, Eren" in the first episode, and instead just has some other shit. And Mikasa didn't have the tattoo. She just so when Kiyomi showed up, it made no fucking sense. It was like an ass pull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the anime also cut out some pretty good scenes in season 3.
Yes.
Which then later you have like no context for. And like, hang on, why is Historia punching Levi here? Oh, it's because we cut out that bit of dialogue. Oops.
Yeah. I mean, we got that whole scene in the manga where like Levi's like basically threatening her, almost strangling her to say, "You are going to become queen because it's your duty to do so." Okay, so Mikasa walks away, Ymir fades away, and then we get the 3 years later, and we get a preview of what's to come in the new manga chapter. Isayama said that he had drawn some stuff for this episode. I assume he didn't animate it, but he presumably drew some of the storyboarding for it. And I'm guessing that's what he drew. My guess is that he drew the alternative epilogue scenes of Levi handing out lollipops and being reminded of the clown and...
Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't even remember the clown part. Oh, that's great. I was like, beware of his wheelchair Levi with Gabby and Falco. Yeah. I
did miss that.
I did miss it a little bit, especially considering I think that the manga, they had a bit more of a glow up than they did in the anime.
Yeah, they seem very similar to before the flashback in the anime. Yeah, is what I felt. Whereas it felt like they grew up or it's different.
We obviously see the Jaegerists, and I saw that and I was like, wait a second, that might not be Rico because the hair color is different. I think it probably still is Rico, but
yeah,
Rico's glasses girl, right?
Yeah, Rico's glasses girl from mostly from season 1.
Yeah.
I think the most disappointing change is that I think in that scene, I don't think it is Surma there in the anime, who's the guy that Shardis gave his speech to about.
He looks way too old.
I think it's in the anime, it's like hard to reconcile that. In the manga, I still agree with it. All right, I think he passes as Surma.
I guess
in the anime, it's
I don't
think they really cared about that detail.
Manga, it's harder to tell as well because like Riko's a bit further off to the side in the manga. Her eyes are obscured. And she looks a lot angrier. Like she's got a really angry expression in the manga. The anime, it's a bit lighter. We still see Hitch
Yep.
looking bored as fuck. It's
The Glasses Boy. What a great theory.
But it's shut
that was
down,
pretty-
Bacon.
What was it?
The anime, yeah,
it's not
it doesn't look
Summer.
anything
There's
like him anymore.
There's no way that fucking 15-year-old turned into that in 3 years.
Yeah.
Oh, I still thought it looked like him.
All right, that's good. I'll take it, Bacon.
So-
You know what? You changed my mind.
you
I'm
know-
on your side. If you believe it,
Hold on.
I believe.
Let me go back and look at this.
Something I noticed actually
Oh.
that I didn't notice in the manga, and I don't even know if it's meant to mean anything, is when you see the Blouse family walking past with Niccolo, Kaya's got a scarf just like Mikasa's. I don't know if that's
I
meant
don't
to mean
remember.
anything, but
I found that way more obvious. Like in the manga, they actually like I was even looking at the panel, like they just like blended into the background entirely. But this time, like because of the colors, it's like way more obvious.
yeah,
Alright, let me
you're
have a look
right.
at this scene.
You're right, they do stand out.
Wait, which scene?
So it's the scene where you see Sasha's family walking past the crowd.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And
Yep.
yeah, in the manga they blend in a bit more. But in the anime they stand out a lot. And Kaya's got a scarf exactly like Mikasa's. It was just a little thing I noticed.
Dude, that looks like the glasses guy. That's so obvious.
All right, I'll take it. I'm glad, Bacon.
I mean, okay, he does look a little old. He does look a little
Wasn't
older,
that what-
but as soon as I saw him, I'm just like,
Wasn't
that's
that
the
where
guy.
Kyle was huffing like the hopium? It's like because Shardis had said blend in with them and then strike from within. That's exactly
Yeah.
what would happen.
No, I still think that's the case in the manga. But the anime, I don't know. If Bacon buys it, I'll you know what? Bacon, I'll put my faith in
I'm
you.
totally
Right?
look. That guy looks like him. Like he's got glasses. Like,
I mean, he does. He has this. Is it the same glasses? Probably, right?
hang on. Let's go try and find the rumbling. Where is it in? Is it in Thor? Which one? Which episode is it in?
Wait, what are you looking for?
Oh, come on,
Like
let's not do
him
this now.
talking to Shardis.
We're already
right.
already 3 hours and 10 minutes into this video, and we've got 10 more minutes
Okay.
of the episode to cover. And Ari has a lot of complaints to make about presumably the credits sequence.
No, don't worry. It'll
Okay,
be
guys,
okay.
don't worry. I found him. Hold on. Move. Okay, keep. Okay, no, keep him talking. I'm moving along. Here he is. I got him. He's about to be eaten by a titan there. He looks the same.
All right, I can't wait to see.
He's got a
this.
different haircut. But look at this. Like, it's
I'm
just
on
a
the edge of my
matter yeah, he's got the cheekbones still going.
Oh
on.
my god! He actually does. Jesus.
Look,
All right, I
He's
think
got
you
different
actually
haircuts.
convinced me. He does look very similar.
Okay,
in that
same eye
screenshot.
color as well. Okay, so it's summer. It's summer then. Fine.
Jesus, thank you, Bacon.
there we go.
Kyle will be
Kyle,
delighted.
I'm saving your theories. You better be happy.
So
I'm bought into the Kyle copium. Yeah.
So here's an interesting little thing. We cut to a scene, and I didn't really pick up on it much on the manga. So we cut to a scene where they're preparing to arrive at Paradis, and Kiyomi's already there with Historia, and I guess some other delegates from around the world. And I don't
Mhm.
really get that, because why would Paradis even have welcomed them if the Armin and that are meant to be the ambassadors who are arriving to discuss peace?
It could be because of their knowledge on like technology and stuff, because that's what they were there for initially. Like even if they were, remember when they were like fueling the boats or whatever, they were being kept captive by the Jaegers. It could be a Jaegers related thing, maybe.
Maybe.
Like maybe as like a bargaining chip or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? It was just a little thing that I noticed. And then we cut to the boat scene.
Yeah.
We get the cute little conversations. We get Reiner being a creep. We get Reiner and Jean's little back and forth.
Yeah, I don't like that. I still don't like that.
Really,
Still
the way the
cringe.
Reiner thing.
Yeah, still cringe. That's not my kind.
Okay. How big of a deal is it to you though? I wonder. Like how much out of 10 does it bother you?
It is. When I think about it, I'm just like, that's not my Reiner, and I literally don't care about it otherwise. I don't think about it at night. But they changed Reiner's thingy, whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like
sure.
it's just more like he's my Aaron. My Reiner Chad wouldn't do that. He'd be respectful of women.
That's
but
all right. I forgive you, Bacon.
yeah. It's one of those things where it's like a small character detail, and I just would have never like felt like it before. Like okay, what I would have said is like, oh, her handwriting's so pretty.
I guess they
but
exaggerated
smelling
it
like
more than they had previously, because the previous two instances were when she showed up in the female Titan arc, and he was like, "Gotta marry that girl," and then in season 2 when she was bandaging him up, and he was like, "Definitely gotta marry that girl."
Yeah.
But then he like it's just I think it's the fact that he's smelling it. Like
Yeah.
I like
Okay, yeah, it's a little weird.
if you just said, "Oh my word, she's her handwriting is still so pretty," then you'd be like, "Oh, I remember that you actually had a crush on this girl." Fair enough. But too bad she gay though. Suck it,
Yeah.
loser.
Here's something actually, a little something. Now maybe this...
Actually, she is gay, but she's also bi, right? She likes Farmer Coon, right?
She does, yes.
Is that-
It's
is that-
all-
Well, their relationship is
Well-
off screen.
Yeah, I guess we don't know. She just always looks very depressed because Ymir died. So
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough.
Remember when we were
Yeah.
huffing the hopium that Ymir would get reincarnated and come back and Historia would get
Oh,
to
that
see
was
her?
so sad. The fact that Ymir died off screen is maybe the biggest tragedy. She was so cool. And then Historia too, like Historia, like as like a character moments, did not get any. And should have got more.
Yeah.
Would have been cool to see more of her.
So here's something I just noticed rewatching this clip particularly. So Annie comes in and is like, "Oh, Parody's in sight," and she comes up and just sort of joins them, sort of stands next to the table, and it's a little bit. In the anime, she walks right up to Armin, and genuinely, I'm looking at that going, she might as well be put. I thought she was about to put her hand on his shoulder. Like, you know, genuinely, it's like it's not like she's addressing the group. It's like she's come right up to speak to him, and it's just a little positional difference, but I think it's again, you know, implying more of that little relationship.
This is
they
3
have.
years later, and they still haven't. Are they not dating yet?
I don't think we know. I think Isayama's a coward, as we always said, as Kyle really liked to say.
True.
That's Kyle's favorite word. Fair enough, honestly, fair enough.
I'm just watching now to see if that line that Connie has is there, but I don't know if it. I can't remember if it is or not. Yeah, I don't think it's actually. I don't think they say it because like they're concerned that they're going to get the ship sunk. I'm just waiting for him to potentially say it. Sorry. Yeah, I don't think he says the line. In the manga, he reassures them that he thinks they'll be safe because Queen Historia already took steps to guarantee the safety of Jean and Connie's family on the island.
Mm.
But he doesn't say it in the anime, I don't think, from what I can see. No,
I'm not sure.
It just doesn't seem to be a thing. Yeah.
Well, no one knows if killed Eren, right?
Hmm?
So I don't know why they'd be in trouble, in danger.
Well, they do know because that will be
they do.
that'll be news that spread because Armin announced to Muller that he was the man who killed Eren Yeager. So, and there may have been survivors from who watched them escape with the flying boat, and then the next thing they know, that Eren Yeager's dead and the power of the Titans is gone. Anyway, after that on the ship, we get the volume 35 stuff of like the refugee camp. We get to see Levi. He's handing out little lollipops. We get to see some more on Yankapon. We get to see Yelena. You know, after everyone was wondering where the fuck she was.
Yelena?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, no one cared. No one cared though.
I love the. Oh no! Come on, Yelena's the greatest. I wonder if her elbow is healed.
Well, she's carrying stuff, so
who knows?
Okay. The Yelena cope was the fact that people just wanted to find more quote unquote bad things about the ending. So then they were like, "Oh, they didn't even give us like didn't show her in the ending. How stupid is that?" I'm just like, "You guys didn't care that much about Yelena. Shut up." That's what I was thinking.
True.
Gabby and Falco planting the tree. It's kind of cute. Honestly, I thought it was cuter when they were walking together, pushing Levi's wheelchair. I'm really looking forward to seeing what these 20 pages look like next year when we get the final, the epilogue chapter.
Yeah. Oh, there's one visual that I really liked in this thing, which is seeing the footprints of the Titans with the grass growing.
Oh yeah, that's fucking.
I thought that was
that's so good.
That was great.
That was very cool.
Also, when Armin says they'll want us to tell the whole story, I saw people talking about how much that ties into Armin being the narrator of the story the entire time, even back in episode 1. And it's like, how the whole series is the narration at the end of this episode.
I was hoping that in my head canon, when I was like thinking how are they going to do this episode, I was hoping they were going to have Armin be the one reading out Historia's letter, but instead they just had like Historia narrate it. But that would have been cool because it's like, oh my god, narrator, oh my god, crazy.
It's nice to give Historia's voice actor something to do.
That is true. Yeah.
Mikasa crying about Eren and the little flashback she has and everything. It's cute.
The
very
flashback
sweet.
was a great addition.
Yeah, I think it is there. It's just not in full detail. She just sees Eren napping, I think, but she doesn't see herself coming up. And
yeah,
we get Eren's.
It's like a tiny panel.
We get Bird Eren,
which is great.
True.
And we get the final shot. I think the final shot is really nice of just her, or one of the final shots of her, like, you know, sort of looking up and smiling with tears in her eyes. It's really cute.
Mm.
We almost used it for this background until another video creator had nicked it. And then we get the credits. Now, I am interested to know if you have complaints about the credits, Ari. You said you had a few issues with this.
Well, what did you guys think about the credits?
I felt like it was okay. I
felt it was hard to see what was going on in them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would have liked it to be like full screen blown up. And maybe have the credits elsewhere, but then again, hey ho, these staff don't get enough credit, so slam some credits in there.
I had to see a few things later, like analysis people had done on them, like they'd blown them up and van stuff, and there were some really cute factors in there. Ignoring the fact that obviously John and Mikasa get married and have a kid, that's more confirmed in the manga. But something in the anime that's really interesting is that we know that Mikasa dies before Armin now in the anime, and Armin's visiting the tree as an old man in one of them. And again, it reflects, they said this is like a perfect reflection of what Armin said, how Eren would always be the first one to the tree, Mikasa would follow behind at her own pace, and then Armin was always last, but he was just happy to be going to the tree. And that's the same thing. Eren dies first, then Mikasa, and then Armin. So we see that. We see one thing that's a bit interesting is they don't show any of Mikasa's face when she's dead, which is, I don't know why they cut that bit off, because in the manga, I don't think it was really that. I don't know if there's any of that necessary either way, but it was still a choice they made to show her. So you just kind of see like just her body. I don't know. Sorry, my voice is starting to go.
All right, I'll talk about this scene then, I guess. So I guess this is this is probably the biggest change in terms of actual story, like, because this is the final thing you see in Attack on Titan is the how times change in the future and what happens. And so the biggest change, I guess, is that firstly, let me say that I agree with you guys that I think, I don't know how extreme you guys went on this, but I'm very extreme. I think it looked really bad. It was very small. The animation, at least in my opinion, was very poor compared to the rest of the episode. In terms of the time lapse and stuff, it felt very unnatural. The buildings didn't blend well with the foreground. Like it seemed like it was a very much an afterthought. And for me, it's like, it's not an afterthought. It's like the whole point of the ending here. Then, I don't know, it felt like, I'm just talking about production here. It also felt like they were integrating it with the credits, but sometimes it would just turn black and it would just disappear for a bit. And I'm like, why is it there? Like, why did it just disappear? You know, I don't know. Small things like that. But in terms of story, the big change they made was that instead of making it modern day in our time frame, like 2023 or whatever, they went further into the future. Now, I did talk about this a little bit on my stream when I gave some brief thoughts about Attack on Titan. My general thing is that the visual of seeing the B-2 bombers, like a very modern aircraft by our standards in the manga, is a very striking final visual to Attack on Titan because it directly relates us, the audience, to what's happening on screen. It feels like we can, when we see that modern technology in Attack on Titan, it's kind of like the story has reached us. And to me, when I read that, I just sit there and I think about how, what will the world of Attack on Titan be when it gets to our modern day? And that's kind of what the visual of those modern planes kind of invokes in me. Now, in the manga, in the anime, we don't get anything like that because we don't particularly see a modern day crisis or a modern day kind of attack like that.
It's very odd, as you said, because the city, because when I look at the plane, because in Attack on Titan makes 9/11 canon as well, which is interesting. When you see I saw people talk about how it might not be a helicopter crashing into a thing. It probably could be another one taking it down. Maybe. So
it might be preventing 9/11. Yeah.
But what I mean is, that helicopter doesn't look as futuristic. I mean, maybe it does a bit, but it kind of looks like a blending.
Not really.
A blending of time zones. I guess.
It just seems strange to me. I don't know.
And
There's
then,
no striking visual there.
and
I
then
guess,
the big sort of
my main problem.
the big sort of rocket platforms that are launching rockets into the futuristic city. Those are very modern. Those are like what we basically have today. If you see any modern footage of like just,
Yep.
so it is odd. And I remember I saw a criticism recently, and I can't remember where from. I can't remember if it was in a YouTube short, like a TikTok or something, about how the decision to put it further in the future kind of is like done to try and alleviate people's concerns that that the whole conflict was pointless, which I think is kind of, but the whole conflict being pointless and about the cycle of violence, I think is kind of the point. So yeah, having it more in the future is a bit of a bad decision, I think.
So I agree with you in terms of I preferred it when it was in our present day or like closer to the actual time period to show that maybe to give people the opportunity to interpret the ending as being a negative one about how it's kind of, it didn't fix everything. However, I do like that how, I don't know how to describe this, but I really like the more than the thematic aspect, I like the science fiction aspect of it. To see this world grow into a very different one from the one we've known, which is like an extremely futuristic one, like with these crazy skyscrapers. I just thought it was a very, like lore-wise and like, I don't know, it was fun. It was a fun visual to see. And it was, I guess, it was the only thing in this episode that I was not like, it was a big change. Like that's something that I just was not expecting. The scenes that were changed in the speech between Eren and Armin, like sure, it was good to see it, and it was very, I like the changes they made, but it was very obvious kind of changes where I'm kind of like, yeah, you could, it's explicitly saying things that I kind of assumed. But seeing a futuristic city is like a visual. I've never seen Attack on Titan. It was fun. It was like a fun, as a manga reader, it was fun to see something new, which I kind of liked. But
that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
Anyway,
I also think the dog at the end, which was like at the point of this dog, like their outfit almost to me felt like almost felt like Star Wars Episode 7 beginning with like kind of futuristic but like downturned, where they got like a cool staff and like the dog's like it's got a bit of tech on there. It's quite cool. So
true.
No, I mean, I like this. I like Attack on Titan's whole thing about cyclical nature. I know it can come across quite depressing, but I do kind of like its whole, the cycle of violence. Or like, I'm pretty sure that there's been a couple of lines alluding to that. It's like as long as humans find differences in each other, they will continue to wage war. I can't remember who says that, but it's like a line that happens somewhere, I think, in the Marley arc, and and that's true, because like it's proof that the Titans weren't the problem. Like, and I think that's what the ending shows. The Titans were never the problem, and as a result, and there's a cynicism to that and a depressing nature to that, especially when we realize that the cycle could start all over again. It doesn't. Like I saw one reaction channel that was setting up some kind of thought that the ending was setting up some kind of sequel bait, and I'm like, oh god, no, anything but that. But yeah. I don't know. I like the thematic. The thematics of the ending. I think it works. That's what I think was the real good thing when they added those extra pages in. Because obviously all that epilogue stuff was in the additional pages. It wasn't in the original release in the monthly magazine.
Yeah, I'm very glad they adapted it. Like,
yeah,
if they didn't, I would have been very saddened with the episode. But one other thing they changed, which I think is personally a very big change, but I imagine most people don't care, which is that the kid at the end in the tree takes a step towards the tree. That's a very interesting thing, because when you're reading the manga, the interpretation that I mean, it's not an interpretation, but when you see the final page of the kid in front of the tree, it's left open. It's like, is he going to go step into the tree and do the same thing, or is he going to do something different? But in the anime, it's kind of, the ambiguity is reduced a little bit, because you see him take a step into the tree, and it's kind of like, I guess maybe he will get those powers again. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Right. And with that, that's Attack on Titan.
Very true.
We're done. This journey has been so long. I mean, I say 10 years. I think I started reading the manga after the anime had just started coming out. Like, I watched the first episode of the anime. So, yeah, I've been basically invested in this series for the last 10 years. So, it's crazy.
It is.
No,
Yeah.
no doubt. No
Um,
doubt we'll be back when, in some form, when the extra volume gets released next year. But we'll see. We'll see.
Mm.
Yeah. So, guys,
Absolutely.
any final thoughts before we wrap up this 3.5 hour long session? It's so wild when we don't have
Attack on
when we don't
Titan
have
good.
laptop batteries to worry about.
True. God, imagine how long it would have been if Kyle was here too to give his,
Yeah, true.
his nice rants and.
Yeah, you have two people who can go off topic very easily.
So yeah. So guys, I open the floor for the final thoughts.
All right, let me think. Final thoughts. I'm incredibly satisfied. It is a wild thing to know that Attack on Titan has a complete adaptation now. I am excited actually to fully rewatch it. Rather than reread it, I am also happy to reread it. You know, we're doing our great reread that's been stalled for like 2 years now. But just it's been so long since I've actually seen the beginning stuff with like Wit Studio, even just season 3. It's been so long, and I'd just like to rewatch it all now that it's finished. It'd be fun.
I'm looking forward to in 10 years from now rewatching it all and like not remembering the little details and getting hyped again. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm personally really interested to see what the cultural impact long term of this series is, because we all saw that, say, like Game of Thrones came out and then died a fucking death because of how bad its final season was. And it's basically, even House of the Dragon hasn't really been able to truly recover the levels of hype there was around the Song of Ice and Fire universe in any form, I think. So I'm really interested to see what people are saying about Attack on Titan in 10 years' time, let's say.
True. What will Attack on Titan leave behind?
Yes, exactly. Hopefully we'll get our first taste when we, again, get our new volume next year. Like, obviously there won't have really been any Attack on Titan media between now and then. So, and not really any major hype, because, again, this is more for the manga readers. So we'll just need to see.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me. It was lovely to have a little Kyle, even if it was only for a bit. I mean, I've been involved, I think, in all. I think it was only one of these videos I unfortunately had to miss due to prior commitments, but I like to think that our discussions have gotten better and better. I really want to put out some edited Attack on Titan content at some point. I just don't know what or when. But anyway.
But we will be looking forward to regardless.
Yes. And I look forward to seeing whatever you gentlemen have in the future to come as well. In the meantime, everyone, we'll just keep moving forward until that day. Sorry, that was lame.
That was great.
Yes. So it's goodbye from Elite RE.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from Jarkey Bacon.
Farewell.
And it's goodbye.
See you later, folks.
It's goodbye from me. See you later indeed. Bye-bye, everyone.